by the Congress. So instead of giving the U.S. Department of Agriculture $20 billion to conduct their programs, we may give them $19.8 billion and reserve that $200 million for discretionary spending by the Congress. That's called an earmark. And so it's not money in addition to the money that we give to the federal department, but it's money within the allocation that normally would go to the department. And what happens if we reserve $200 million from the agriculture line, then each member of Congress, no, let me take that back, 60% of those allocations would go to Democrats. Correct it again, let me be intellectually honest with you. 60% of those earmarks would go to the party in power, whether it's Democrat or Republican. And right now it's Democrats, 4 years ago it was Republicans, but 60% of that amount would go to the party in power, the majority. 40% would go to the minority. And then the leadership of each party will decide how that money is allocated per member. And so I may get a call one day and say, your share of the allocation is $150,000 for agriculture programs in your district. Then I would have to look at my district and decide where I would like to allocate that $150,000 within my district. This same thing with transportation, same thing with labor, health, and human services. There are 12 budgets that we work from. And so an earmark is an allocation that's given to each political party, and that party then permits its membership to allocate the money to worthwhile projects in the district. There have been abuses of earmarks, and that's why you know so much about it. And that's why it gets on the news and on the front page. Because my colleagues, Democrat and Republican, over the years have abused earmarks. They have gotten these earmarks and they've given them to projects that have nothing to do with the public interest. And so that's what's given it a bad name. But I have never submitted an earmark, and I have never allocated an earmark that I would not want on the front page of the Telegram, because I'm proud of every earmark that I've ever been able to get. I wish there were more earmarks, because I could help more people and more programs and more projects in my district. But I understand the criticism of it. President Barack Obama is very critical of earmarks because of the abuses. And so a few days ago, he has now announced earmark reform. And in the future, we are going to have to follow a different format in allocating earmarks. If the earmark is going to go to a for-profit company, then it has to be competitive. That makes sense. You just cannot give it to a special interest, that's a for-profit company, without putting it out for bid. And so any earmarks to for-profit companies will have to be competitive. Earmarks going to nonprofit entities will not have to be competitive, but we're going to have to demonstrate the relevancy of this appropriation to the public interest. We're going to have to post it on our website, and we're going to have to open it up for comment from the general public. And then I suspect earmarks will continue, but they will be more transparent and probably less in the years to come. You guys do a lot of reading. That's good. Okay. Oh, I don't know how to do this. All right, let me just right in front of you.
What do you believe is the role of government, and at what point would you say that it's overstepping its boundaries?
That would be a very long conversation. Let's see if I can let's see if I can summarize it. We have a constitution. I used to carry it around with me. I do. To provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That is the preamble of the Constitution. What does that mean? The scholars have disagreed on what that means for many, many years. We know what the common defense means. It means to protect this country from any enemy attack, whether it's internal or external, to make sure that our borders are safe. And we do a pretty good job in doing that. I mean, we have the best military in the world. We fund the military at an extraordinarily high level, and we protect our country. Since 9/11 now, we have invested more in Homeland Security. And so I would say to you that we are meeting the test of the Constitution for the common defense. Where we are falling short is the general welfare. We have 47 million people in this country without health insurance whatsoever. We had 12 million children from working families with no health insurance, and we've changed that over the recent again, it just came out this morning, unemployment rate. Let me get it right, I want to be honest with you. I think 12% is Nash County, the overall rate is 11% for the whole district. Edgecombe County is 15 or 16% unemployment. We've got to provide infrastructure, we've got to provide assistance to small businesses so that they can grow jobs and get people employed. And so the role of government is to protect not only the homeland, but to protect the people who live in the homeland. We have 305 million people in this country. And the poverty rate, I think the statistic is 1 out of 5 children in America lives in poverty. That is unacceptable. When we're spending $10 billion per month in Iraq, it's unacceptable to have a poverty rate at the level that we have. In my congressional district, 40% of the children in this congressional district that I represent under the age of 5 lives in poverty. 21% of my senior citizens live in poverty. So the role of government is to reverse that and to bring people out of poverty, to close the disparities that exist between black and white and brown in this country, and to have one United States of America where all families can prosper. Okay, all right, yes.
I was wondering about this whole auto bailout thing, because in another class we learned about a situation, and I don't remember if it was the late 80s or the early 90s or whatever, but it was a similar situation with an auto company in England, and the government poured a bunch of money into it to save it, keep it from going under, and they said they were going to change everything, and it happened again. They were on the brink of going under, so they poured more money into it, and it happened about at least 2 or 3 times, and then in the end it ended up failing anyway. So I was just wondering if there was anything like maybe that I personally am just not aware of that sort of made people think this was going to be different this time.
I voted against the bailout. I struggled with it, and at the last minute I voted against it because if you give special treatment to the auto industry, what about the other industries in America that are also struggling? And so I've struggled with that before I voted against it, and even after I voted against it. I have really struggled with the question. Why? Because 2 million jobs are on the line. Not just the men and women who work on the assembly line in Detroit, but the suppliers and the vendors who support the assembly line in Detroit. We're told that it's about 2 million jobs. There are some who feel that the auto industry, if they are challenged economically, that they should seek bankruptcy protection, go into bankruptcy court and allow the bankruptcy judge to restructure the organization, to restructure the debt, and to try to develop a plan for getting them in another direction. But General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler did not want to go the bankruptcy route. They said because once the public gets perception that they have filed for bankruptcy, then consumers will start purchasing their automobiles. And so they refused to file bankruptcy and asked us to give them some help. And so even though I voted against it, we did at the last minute agree to give some bailout funds to the auto industry. And they really ruined it with their public relations. And I know many of you saw it on TV. You know, these 3 fat cats, the CEOs from these 3 companies, each came to Washington on a private corporate aircraft. Not 3 of them on one airplane, but each one came on a separate corporate jet coming to Washington to ask us for a bailout. They lost it right there, not only with many of my colleagues, but with the American people. And once we beat them up for doing that and told them to go back and get a plan, and when they came back again, they all came in a hybrid, all 3 of them driving along the Pennsylvania Turnpike to Washington. But that was the arrogance that we saw, and hopefully they're beginning to get it. Hopefully they are. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go back to what you were saying about how much the government should be doing. If we need to be helping our people and there's such like a high poverty rate and everything, then why are we giving so much like financial aid to places such as Israel that are already so wealthy, rather than giving it to places like Haiti and all that don't get that much aid and have they need that aid, so why are we giving so much money out?
I need to take you back to Washington. You're right on it. You're right on it. Israel has been a friend of the U.S. for many years, and we made a